Time to go. Yes, ma'am. Stand for the flag salute. Don't sit down.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
All right, now it's 7 o'clock. Call to order. Consent agenda. The Planning Commission's minutes dated 11/2018. All in favor? Any changes?
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes as
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Nay? It's accepted. Okay. This time, do we have any topics from the floor? Okay, seeing none. All right, we have a public hearing.
Substantive. It's gonna be in there someplace.
What?
Substantive.
It will be in there, yes. All right. This is a quasi-judicial land-use hearing. The subject of the hearing in this request is for 3 variance permits. Subject property is identified in the county assessor's map as lot 703 on map 5N1W-33DB. The applicant is Robert Johnson. The owner is Joseph and Carl Kessie. I just remembered. Am I moving on?
Yeah. It's your game.
Okay. Okay, because the quasi-judicial proceedings require the observance of certain procedural formalities, we'll take a few moments to cover some preliminary matters and required statements. Does any member of the commission wish to declare ex parte contact, conflict of interest, or bias in this matter? Hearing none. Okay. Does anyone from the audience object to the ability of the commissioner to make a fair decision? Seeing none. Okay. Generally, the order of the proceedings will be as follows. Required statements, staff report, applicant's presentation, those in favor of the application, neutral testimony, those opposed, rebuttal by the applicant, final questions, close of the record, deliberations, and decisions. Following statements are required to be made at the commencement of the hearing pursuant to City Code ORS 197.7635. Following is a list of the applicable substantive criteria for this decision. St. Helens Municipal Code 17.108.0501A through E. All testimony, arguments, and evidence must be directed towards the applicable substantive criteria as described or other criteria in the plan, such as comprehensive plan, land use regulations, such as that's found in the development code, which the person believes applies to the decision. Failure to raise an issue, including constitutional or other issues relating to the proposed conditions of the approval in this hearing in person or in writing, or failure to raise the issue accompanied by statements or evidence sufficient to afford the approving authority an opportunity to respond to the issue precludes appeal to LUBA, Land Use Appeals Board. On that issue, it precludes an action for damages in certain court. Okay, request for the staff?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So we do have some civics class people. So all that dry stuff, this is a quasi-judicial land use hearing, and basically it's legal stuff that needs to be read. A lot of times these hearings stay at the local level, but every once in a while they can get sideways and in rare cases go to the Oregon or the U.S. Supreme Court. Fortunately, that hasn't happened to us, but we have had gone to the state before. But if Joe back there gets really mad, he can fight it to a pretty high level. Anyways, that's why we say all that stuff. So we have 3 variances before us, and these variances are the prequel to the ability to divide this property into 2. And so you see this plan, which is in your packet. it's kind of a flag lot of sorts, and there's two detached single-family dwellings, and they want to put a property line down the middle. And so in order to partition this, and this isn't the partition application, but these variances are needed for that to get that through. These lots have...
Say that again. This is not a partition
This
hearing?
is not a
It's
partition.
a variance hearing.
These are the variances, but there's no way a partition could be approved without these variances.
Okay. All right. Thank you for the clarity.
So the two lots will have depths less than the minimum required, so that's one of the variances. The yard requirements or setbacks between the buildings and this property line down the middle would not meet the standards. And then the flag lot, which is the northerly one here, accessed via, I think that's 10th, its size would be less than the minimum lot size. The lot adjacent to Deer Island Road would have a lot size that meets our standards. So that's why we have the variances. The houses are old. According to the assessor records, they were built in 1938, and they're small by modern standards, but back then there were a lot of smaller houses, and they're 832 and 720 square feet in size. When I first got this, and I started looking at some of the land division history, I thought, oh, okay, well, the planner probably just considered it two non-conforming houses on one parcel, and they just kept shrinking and made the same findings on that. And in your packets, you'll see a little bit of the history. These two lots used to be on a much larger parcel, and that was broken up into three pieces in 1999. And one of the parcels of the 99 partition was basically what I'm kind of outlining here, if you can see the scroller. And then in 2000, it was divided further, and the subject property is one of those parcels. The other two was this one on the left and this one on the right. And it was really interesting when I dug into the partition, because even on the application, it said that they were going to take these two houses and convert it to a duplex. And when I kind of looked at the details, basically that was the only way you could make that a legal lot. What was puzzling is when you look at it, it doesn't look like a duplex. I couldn't find any building permit records that said it was a duplex, and the planner at the time signed off on the partition plat. So there was nothing in the file that said what was going on. So it's kind of weird. But in any case, that's what we have now. So in order to partition it, we have to be able to say that it complies with all of our regulations, and a partition wouldn't, but with these variances, it could potentially. On page 2 of the report, I have a table that shows what the standards are and what's proposed as far as the depth, setback, and size requirements, if you want to see those numbers. And note for the parcel 2, the one adjacent to Deer Island Road, there are some different numbers for the setback, depending on if you look at the little shed, which is here. There's an attached shed. And then also there is a little entryway, which is right there. And on page 3 of the report, there's a picture of the back side, or the sides of each home facing each other, to give you a better illustration of what's going on there. So let's get into the standards. We've had a lot of variances before. I think you'll understand how it works. We have to review each 5 standard and find that it's met or met with conditions or not met. And if it's not met, it gets denied. And in this case, you really need all 3 variances for the petition to work. And so they kind of all depend on each other. So that's why we kind of bundled it up into one. So the first standard is that the variance will not be detrimental. And there's a few things we can look at in that regard. The purposes of setbacks are air, light, and space. There used to be a lot more when the lot was bigger. Of course, there's not as much now. When we talk about the reduced yard in between the buildings, one of the things to think about is if an easement, a shared easement between the two should be required. What kind of congestion would you get if people put up a fence or a wall and stuff? So that's one thing. The attached shed along the southerly house, I believe, does need to be removed for this because it's small sacrificial, and that's the only way you're going to get some type of setback. And the other thing to think about are these stairs. I talked to our building official about that, and the building code requires a 3-foot minimum landing at the end of the stairs, regardless of if a building permit's required or not. And currently, where that property line is proposed is right at the end of the stairs. And so you walk down the stairs, and if that property line was a force field, you would be stuck on the stairs. And so it's impossible to get that landing. And so there's a couple things you can do. Have that easement, have the lines meander, or require that the stairs be rebuilt so they go off to the side. Off-street parking is something that I thought about too. I wanted to make sure that this wouldn't affect that. And so one of the things I did, this is probably a good thing to point out. Are you okay looking at it sideways?
Sure.
Okay. So I just wanted to, well, like I said, make sure it works. And there's a few things going on here. With that 2000 partition, there was a shared access easement recorded on this parcel for the benefit of this parcel. And so when we consider how this is supposed to function, the vehicles would come in this way and park like this. And because of our vision clearance standards, the parking spaces technically should be over here. And so that works. And then, of course, for the flag lot, the parking spaces fit easily here. So that's one good thing. We don't compromise our parking issues. But note this easement. That's an important thing to consider. And this is a little close-up of the shed and the little back entryway of that structure.
So how far is the easement going to the other parcel? Is that
It covers the entire front part, and I believe it's 30 feet deep.
their parking area, basically? Is that what you're saying?
Yes. Yeah, this house has a garage on it.
Okay.
I don't know how far back that house is. I didn't focus on that too much. So the second standard, are there special and unique circumstances? Why is it not a duplex? That's pretty weird. I don't know what was going on at the time. And I couldn't find any evidence of it. But like I said, there's no notes in the file. There's no building permit. I don't know who the applicant Philip Hickey was, if he had some relationship with the planner, where they gave him special,
He was a surveyor here in town, wasn't he?
oh,
Or no, maybe there's a connection.
I don't know.
Jacob, can I ask, there is no driving access to the flag lot, am I correct? Is the parking all out front? Or is that a street?
No, this is the street.
So that's 10th Street.
Yes. Yeah, it has access.
So really, it's on the street.
No, the street's way out here. This is the flagpole part of the lot. This is,
Well, I understand that, but I'm saying it has drive-in access from 10th.
yes.
So, okay, it's not a flag lot. I was trying to put it as a flag lot between the two.
Oh,
yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
Off,
No,
of-
I-
off
I've
of Dry
got it.
Island, yeah.
So it's definitely special and unique if you consider that. Unless you think it needs to be a duplex, then how you look at the standard is, well, I'm kind of curious on how you look at the standard in that case. So the third one is you can't have a use variance, which it's not. The applicant's not asking for it to be heavy manufacturing, which would be an example of a use variance, and that the standards are maintained to the greatest extent possible. And, you basically draw a line down the middle, and that's really the best you can do if your intent is to create two lots out of this. It's probably not reasonable to lift those houses and move them for the purposes of a land partition, although that's your decision to make.
Where would you move them to?
The fourth one asks about physical and natural systems and if they'll be adversely affected. And if a partition comes in, well, we need to consider utility easements because all the utilities come in from one side for both dwellings. I don't think that's really an issue for the commission to get too wound up on because we can address that with a partition if these variances are approved. But when we have these weird variances, we do like to try to fix some things if you feel that can be granted. And there's a couple things we can do. I think one is to make sure that this access easement is actually used. In the report, you'll see some photos on page 6. There's a 2000 photo that shows that the driveway was to the side of that. And then there's a more current photo which shows that over time they started using this area. And of course, if you don't have a curb or sidewalk or some type of obstruction, people are going to have a natural tendency to do that. And so we have a condition recommending something to make sure that singular point of access is used. The importance of that is Deer Island Road is a minor arterial street where we have to consider mobility over access, given our transportation systems plan. So that's one thing to think about. And another thing is to make sure that we have paved parking spaces. It's currently gravel, and paved parking spaces in the appropriate places, which is illustrated in part by this edited version of the plan. And then the final standard is that the variance is not self-imposed, and the minimum necessary to alleviate the hardship. If the applicant was also the applicant from the partition in 2000, I would say I'm not sure if you can approve this. Of course, it's not. And how long have you had this property, Joe? Don't remember? Okay. Well, we know he wasn't the person who did the partition and is likely not responsible for the duplex versus 2 single-family dwellings. So that's pretty easy. And another thing that I didn't talk about in the report, and Councilor Carlson isn't here, but we know we have housing affordability issues. And there's a variety of ways you can look at this request. But one thing you could hang your hat on is our comprehensive plan, which talks about housing and such. And certainly having smaller lots with smaller houses is generally a more affordable product. And this would be 2 lots that could be on the market versus 1, which may do a little bit to help with that. But that depends how much you look at the other standards and if you think it's justifiable. So we do have easements, or excuse me, conditions. And there's one condition where there's a variety of choices for us to talk about. 2B it talks about the stairs. Do you have them be rebuilt? Do you go with the easement? Do you do something different with the property line? The other ones are kind of recommended in black and white, but we'll see what kind of testimony we get. Any questions for me before that?
Any questions of Jacob?
I just had one question about the, on page 6, the last paragraph in the upper part, last sentence. This would mean that the existing fence for the house close to Deer Island Road would need to be modified or removed. What fence is that?
Oh, if you look at the survey, the plan, so to get those parking
Okay, I see.
spaces in the optimum location, this little fence
Okay.
is in the way.
I couldn't see it on the photo. I gotcha. All right. Thank you.
All right, could we hear from the applicant?
Good evening. My name's Joe Kessie. I'm one of the owners of 1070 Deer Island Road. Well, basically we're asking to take an irregular shaped lot that pretty much already doesn't meet the AR standards and divide it into 2 so that we can sell the houses individually instead of as a duplex, which it is not. If you walk around the property, you can walk around all 4 sides of it. They don't have any shared parking. They really don't have any access or anything to do with each other because the fronts of the buildings are on separate sides. I mean, I guess that's it in a nutshell. I do want to say that I know Jacob had talked about an easement to the rear of the southern house and to the front of the or side of the northern house between the 2 properties. And I just want to say that, you know, when you go and you buy a house, you really don't want to put your junk with somebody else's junk, because that's why you buy houses, so you can put your own junk on your own land and keep it separate. But beyond that, I mean, I don't think I have anything else to say. Does anyone have any questions? Did I miss anything?
Are you developing the flag lot?
So there's
Or the,
what you see is what you get. We're not developing any. We're not adding any more units
just
to anything.
want to sell 2 things,
We-
houses on,
we-
make them on 2 parcels?
That's right. We'd like to sell each house individually instead of as one.
Third lot?
I'm sorry?
But then the 3rd parcel, what are you doing with that?
Oh, there is no third parcel.
Yeah, they're taking one parcel,
Well,
cutting
there's
it
one
into 2.
picture here that looks, it says parcel 1, 2, and 3.
Oh, those are the partitions that resulted in this
Previous.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, those were from
from
Mr. Hickey.
1999 and 2000.
Okay.
So that's the intent of that, was to help tell the story of how it came to be.
Okay,
Um,
that's where it was confusing, was,
the other thing I should mention about this is that because this is two houses, it is incredibly hard to finance. It does not fit in anyone's box, meaning you cannot call up Rocket Finance or any of the people that have the good rates and finance this project or this parcel. You have to go to somebody that will take something that is non-conforming. And that's what this is known as, is non-conforming. And it's actually non-conforming in your zone, or in your code as well, because it doesn't meet your standards for AR, apartment residential, as it is now. So, yeah.
So I had a question. The southern
Yes, sir.
house, its entrance is on the north side, facing the other northern house?
The southern house is the way I read this, the southern house is the house with the highlighted yellow portion, and that's off of Deer Island Road.
Yeah.
And that entrance the way I understood Jacob explain it is that it would stay on Deer Island Road. It would just use.
I don't mean the car entrance, the person entrance into the house.
No,
the front door.
the front door faces Deer Island Road.
Oh, it does? Okay.
Yes,
so
it
that
does.
stairs that we see in the picture is a back door.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yes.
That was what I needed to know. Thanks.
How wide is that easement?
How wide is it?
Yeah,
Well, it actually, this plan shows you it's outlined here. And so it varies, but it's basically the tip of this semi-triangular lot here.
that's the whole driveway to that one house then.
Basically, yeah. Like I said, I don't know how far back that house is. But it was something required in the 2000 partition.
Looking at the photo, it looks like it's even with the southern house.
Yeah,
So that,
that whole driveway.
that whole area is
I-
the not house part.
As it is now, the house on Deer Island Road, the portion with the yellow highlight in front,
Yeah.
they access it off of Deer Island Road as it is now. So, and they do use the easement from time to time to park on the side of the house.
No. But they can get off of Deer Island Road and parked parallel to Deer Island Road without using that easement? I mean, logistically?
How it is now, they just come straight off of Deer Island Road,
Just straight in.
straight in.
Oh,
yes.
they're not-
and I
They're not
think
doing a parallel. Okay.
no, and I think that's what we're trying to fix.
Yeah.
Oh,
Fence
okay.
still there?
Which one? Where?
Yeah, the little fence.
The little 4-foot high fence?
Oh yes, the fence is still there. It is.
Is that going to be taken down so that you can
Yeah, that'll have to be removed so that you can have adequate space to park and
pave
Your
the
vehicles.
driveway?
So in this
Pave-
figure, it's the edge of pavement. Is that the northern edge of pavement?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So there's all that distance, even in the right of way,
Yeah, the
beyond the pavement.
Deer
to the
Island
north.
Road is
Yeah.
skewed to one. It's not center at all on the right of way.
Okay. That's why they can park straight in.
right.
Yeah.
It's
They're parking
it's
in the right.
kind of hard to see from
that's what was confusing.
Google Earth. Is a lot easier to visualize it. There you go.
But it doesn't show.
N-
the
now you
right-
can see.
Doesn't show where the right of way is. Very good. But
Right.
Yeah, you can see in the 2000 photo. These are the current tax hotlines, but you can see the swath of right of way between the property line and the edge of road, and then you can barely see the fence, but you can see where it's gravel, where they have been parking.
The lot next door.
It's about halfway in the right of way, halfway on private property.
about right here.
So where are you gonna have them paving required?
We would need a final plan, but given the vision clearance standards and utilizing the shared access,
Gonna be in
the thing that I drew kind of constrains where that parking is supposed to be. Basically, to over here.
Where?
where again?
I'll do it in the lighter photo over here.
So they'd have to pave from.
You'd
from
have
the
to have
pavement-
some,
from
because
the pavement of Deer Island, not from the edge of the right of way.
yeah, it would be something like this, and then there would be some type of barrier that prevents the head-in parking from here.
Oh.
Which really should have been done in 2000. If you have an easement, you want something that makes sure that functions like that.
Okay. Any more questions? Applicant?
Oh, what? Okay, so what is the square footage of each house and like kind of the makeup of it?
I believe the rear house is 760-ish, and the front house is 800, or it could be vice versa. I believe I'm in the ballpark.
Yeah, he's according to the assessor records, he's in the ballpark.
Okay.
They're both 2-bedroom, 1-bath, and they've actually both been extensively remodeled twice.
And you would have a problem with taking off the shed of the southern house?
No, I don't. No, that's a non-issue, really.
And moving the stairs.
Once again, non-issue. The stairs can be actually fixed by just removing the landing from the top of the stairs and moving the stairs back against the building. And that gives you your 3-foot landing at the ground level instead of, because there's a landing in front of the house as well.
Okay, great, thanks very much.
All right, thank you for your time.
All right, do we have any testimony neutral to this application? Okay, do we have any testimony in opposition? Did I forget to support?
Yes, you did. Forget.
I don't think you did, but I don't think anybody's here to talk. I
Okay.
think they're here for their civics
Anybody in
class.
support of the application? All right,
Yeah, we got that.
all right, no rebuttal then either, huh? Okay. All right. Okay. Does the commission have any final questions?
I'm staying.
Okay, now where am I going? Okay. Hearing no further questions from the commission and no further response from the staff, the public record is closed. This matter is returned to the table for deliberation and oral discussion. Well, I think it's a good use of making it work. And
I do too.
They're gonna be two affordable small houses, which
Right.
they don't have to be 1,200, 2,000 square foot houses. So small houses are good.
So to be clear what the 3 variances are, could have asked that. We have the size of the lot, or the
So
distance from the street.
the first one is the lot depth,
Okay.
So
Yeah.
the standard lot depth is 85 feet. And with this proposal, one of them will be 50 feet, the other one will be 62.
Okay.
So there's a dimensional issue. The second variance is for your yard requirements, and that's when you put that property line down the middle. One of the parcels, the one off the flag lot off 10th, would have an approximate 7-foot yard, and the one off of Deer Island, assuming the shed is removed and you don't count the little back door entry, you still have 7. If you include the entry, it's down to about 4, but the entry is not that large. And then as far as the size, the parcel adjacent to Deer Island Road is okay, but the flag lot is undersized. And the reason for that is when we have a flag lot, we're only supposed to count the flag portion
Oh, huh.
Oh,
for the purposes of the area. Otherwise, it meets it.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a technicality.
Yeah, looking at it, it looked big enough on paper, but not in dimension on this.
Okay. Well, that's it.
So the area one's a little deceiving unless you really know the code.
So is that a solvable situation, or is that really the straw that broke the camel's back?
Well, if you deny the variances, partition's going to be impossible to approve. So I didn't bundle the partition in with this because I figured, well, if he doesn't get the variances, there's no partition, we can probably refund the money, unless he wants to appeal it to the U.S. Supreme Court. It'd be the city council first, just so the civics class people know I'm
And then Luba.
joking with
and,
them.
Make them affordable.
It takes a while to get to the
Yeah.
Supreme Court. So, these are the three levers that need to be pulled in order for us to be able to look at a partition and go, okay, we can approve it based on it not complying with these standards. And so, will the straw break the camel's back? That was the question?
Well, more or less.
Yeah, so if the variances aren't approved, that straw is made of lead, and it's very big, and will probably break the camel's back.
So what I wasn't clear about, and the owner talked about it, was the reciprocal private access easement. I didn't quite understand where you were suggesting
Oh,
that.
okay. So if we go back to the plan, what I was talking about is,
The space between the houses?
yeah, because it's going to be kind of congested in there. And so, do you just accept that, or do you require an easement so each neighbor is required to be friendly, which, doesn't always work. It's just, you kind of have some congested space. You have the shed, you have the back door to the one house. And so when we look in condition 2B, there's a couple things to consider. To rebuild the stairs, require the easement, or do something different with the property line.
So if they were to rebuild the stairs, take out the shed, and they didn't do the reciprocal easement, could they put a fence right down that line?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
I just wanted the planning commission to have options. I mean, the easy thing is to have a simple property line. It's easy to find, easy to know where your fence goes. Probably will reduce the potential for neighbor conflict.
They could still put a fence there, though.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, the only thing that would keep the fence from going there would be the easement.
But if they had an easement, they couldn't put a fence,
No, not technically.
technically. But if it was agreed on both sides, it's a partial fence or something.
Yeah, well, when they purchase the property, there's basically, oh, my deed has an easement. They agree by signing that deed.
Right.
And I'm not partial to the easement. It was just one of those things that you can think about.
The other easement is for the neighbor's property that's already in place.
That's
and
been in
it's not-
place for 20
it's
years.
something we're going to be touching.
Yeah.
Well, I make a move to accept staff's recommendations for variances, but not having the private easement, reciprocal private easement as part of it, to rebuild the stairs so it meets the code, however they want to do that, and remove the shed. So basically the same as the staff had done that.
So what I'm hearing you, to simplify it, is as recommended by staff,
Yes,
but not worry about the easement and keep the property line where it's at.
That's
Yes.
correct.
Right.
Okay.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, moved and seconded.
In favor?
In favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none? It's passed.
And that's it.
That's it. So simple.
You can worry about that.
Yeah.
So what happens after this is there's a decision that's made. It gets signed. It gets mailed out to people who provided testimony and the owner. And if the owner, I don't think he's going to appeal. He got what he wanted, basically. But let's say he didn't and he wanted to fight it. he could appeal it to the city council and then have the city council review it too. I don't know if you read the news, but that happened with a marijuana shop just over here. This body denied it. They appealed it to the council, who recently approved it. And then if the council makes a decision and they still don't like it, then they can appeal it to the next level, which is called the Oregon State Land Use Board of Appeals, which is a specific state board that reviews land use matters. And then the next level is the Oregon Court of Appeals, which I've been to once here over a matter. And then I don't know where it goes beyond that, but somewhere between that and there's the Supreme Court. And that's your lesson in land use.
So do we need to make a motion that the chair can sign?
I make the motion.
Second.
Second,
Chair can sign.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Nay? All right.
That's so he can go and sign this decision and represent us.
Yeah, otherwise they would wait to have the findings so they can review them as a group to make sure they're written as they see fit. That's not common though.
All right, moving on to acceptance agenda.
I'll move we accept the site review design.
Second.
Okay, been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Okay, next, Planning Commission term expiration days.
So every October we get to pick on one or two planning commissioners,
Yep.
and this time it's Audrey and Sheila.
Yep.
I like that. That was kind of funny.
See, they're on the edges.
So you both have exceeded 2 terms.
Yep.
So the first question is, do you want to continue? Do you want to pursue another term? Or are you going to put up the white flag and have you had enough?
No, I'd go ahead.
I'd like to pursue another
Yeah.
term if no one shows up for taking this space.
Okay. Well, that's a good message for the interview panel
Yeah.
if we have to use them.
Yeah.
And then does any planning commissioner have any beef with that? We just want to make sure.
No.
No.
Okay. So what we get to do is, given our commission protocol rules, we need to advertise and see if we get any takers.
Yep.
And if we get any takers, we need an interview committee. Now, the council liaison is always on that, and I'm assuming Ginny would be. And does anybody else, probably other than Sheila and Audrey in this case?
I would like to.
Okay,
I would volunteer for that.
so Julie,
Even though I don't have a lot of experience being on the board, on the commission, but
you should remember the interview committee pretty well.
Screw me.
We can also open it up to Greg too, since he's not here.
Greg's normally done it every time.
Yeah, he has.
So, yeah, he would be good.
We can ask.
Yeah.
So nobody objects if Greg is on the committee.
No.
All right.
No.
And then
You
if
picked
we
a good one last time. They said you picked a good one last time.
And then it depends. Well, we did get, so back in June, someone applied for the Arts and Cultural Commission, but they also checked Planning Commission. And so there's at least someone, I don't know how much knowledge of the Planning Commission they have, but anyways, we'll let you know if we need to use the interview committee.
And Audrey Audrey, are you the same?
Yeah, I'd already told Jenny.
Oh, okay.
Do you have the expiration dates for the rest of us? Somewhere? It's in our book.
Isn't in our book?
Yeah.
It's in our address.
I just forget. That's okay.
I could run to
Oh,
my
I just go
office
until
and get
I
it.
told them can't go anymore.
When you hit a brick wall, huh?
All right.
Wonder if we-
I just can't remember when it was. All right.
Next year.
All right, so we've settled that. Okay.
Yes.
Planning director decisions previously emailed to everybody, and do we approve these? Questions?
I make a motion, we approve them.
Okay, it's a motion to, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Nays? None. We approve them all.
One thing to note in that is our first temporary use permit for a food cart pod.
Yes, I saw that. And you'll critique it after each one opens, right?
Well, oh, well, you know me.
That's for Yelp.
I have eaten at every one we've permitted, so. What, these pods, I mean, that's a lot more to eat.
So, Jacob, the D is the one that we talked about for my other job.
Nope.
Is that correct? Is that Gable Road LLC?
Yes, yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
D
All right.
is what you said. I thought you said D.
D.
That's the Leahy project, the 78?
No, that is on Gable Road, just south of the complex where Starbucks, Mod Pizza, etc. is in.
Oh, yeah, okay.
In full disclosure, I'm reviewing an application for that same project at Department of State Lands right now.
Yeah, it's loaded with wetlands, whereas the Leahy project was void of wetlands.
And I saw the letters you wrote to Army Corps. Are they the ones? How does that work?
Well, so you have, and Dan might be able to explain it better than me, but in the wetland world, you have your local regulations. And for us, we have our significant wetlands, and for those, there's protection buffers. So we have to review our laws to make sure any impacts to the wetland complies. Then you have,
But let me just clarify that. For the wetlands that are locally significant on the local wetland inventory, not all wetlands.
yes, and so this property has some that are significant to us and some that aren't. If they're not, our rules aren't that aggressive. Then you have waters or wetlands of the state, and then waters, wetlands of the nation, where you have state authority and federal government authority. And if you have a wetland, a lot of times you get to deal with both entities, and you get to make them both happy. Fortunately, DSL and the Army Corps has a joint form, so at the very least, even though they get to deal with 2 or 3 bureaucracies, they only have one form. Well, 2 forms if you include ours.
All right.
But 3 processes.
Yeah.
In other words, you went above your head then.
I went above this head, but
All right. Emerald Meadows got their final plat all done?
Yes, it's very close. They just had some minor tweaks. And surprising, none of the neighbors protested. I think they finally accepted it. But yeah, Emerald Meadows is going to become 77 or 78 lots very soon.
I did field a question from someone on Hillcrest about it.
Oh,
I was
okay.
wondering if the street stub meant that they were continuing access through there.
Oh,
I've been
Obviously-
getting
obviously
questions on that too.
Private, it's in the county, they don't want it.
you don't even get paid for it.
No, I know.
I was just going to say one more thing about the Gable Road LLC. The sensitive lands permit is about the buffer to the wetlands. And I'm processing a permit for impacts to the actual wetlands. So we're not in a conflict of interest here.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Just want to make sure.
So Dan and I have to arm wrestle after this.
I'm sensitive to that. I have to abstain in some place, sometime. I haven't had to do it yet, but it'll happen.
All right, planning department activity reports.
The only thing I have, so there's this House bill that came out, 4006, I think, which is helping us fund a housing needs analysis, which is something we're supposed to have. I don't think we've ever had it. It's one of these state mandates. So given all the housing issues across the state, this bill came out, which has a variety of requirements and funding mechanisms. One of the funding mechanisms is to help cities with their housing needs analyses. And we applied, got it, and we got the final signed memo from the state today. One of the requirements, so over the next, 9 months, we have another process. And one of the requirements is to have an advisory committee. I love this expression on your face. It's not going to be like the corridor plan where we have all these lessons. But I think we're thinking of using you as the advisory committee rather than having an ad hoc committee. And it's very planning commission
Oriented.
based,
Yes.
what's your comprehensive plan? I mean, it's
Yeah,
really nitty-gritty planning stuff. So it makes sense.
yeah.
It's supposed to be done by June. Hopefully most of the meetings will be in the winter before we start having crazy long meetings again. But I just wanted to bounce that off you to make sure you weren't going to be too mad at us.
I think it's 4 meetings.
Is
if
it
I
4?
remember. I think there's
Okay.
4 meetings and 2 public, like open house type meetings. One at the beginning and one at the end. So yeah, we pared it down.
Those
as much
are
as we
4
could.
additional meetings besides planning commission.
Well, it would
At the
be-
planning
We would
commission.
do them at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we were concerned
About
about
6
having
o'clock.
minutes and notice requirements, and if we just piggyback it on, if the advisory committee is the planning commission, then it's just another agenda item on your agenda.
Do we have an outline on that? We will have an outline.
Yeah, it's too early right now. What?
But I mean, how we deal with that.
Oh yeah. So what the funding does is the state hires a consultant, which is going to be FCS Group, to guide us through it, and they're going to help us with the inventories, policies, all that stuff, and then by June 30th, we should have something that we can adopt. We don't have to adopt it with the consultant, but we have to have that product. But it's something that's going to help us make, decisions like, well, do we go from R7 to R5?
That's good.
Like with Emerald Meadows Estates.
Yeah.
Well, going that way anyway. All right.
But that's the only thing I have.
Okay.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
I do have a for information item, just it's really not planning commission related, but it's related to Emerald Meadows. There may or may not be some wetlands on there. It's being determined right now. There were some weird signatures and some aerial photos, and a lot of developments being held up for that reason.
Oh, yeah, I've heard something about it.
I considered it all drain tile, drainage fields, septic tank field ooze, but it may be more than that. I know that in the corner of the property is L-shaped in that little corner. If you've driven in there, it's solid bedrock. It's gonna be really fun to build a house in there.
Yeah.
And in this area, the water just doesn't go through the bedrock. It rose on top of the bedrock, and where the soil is thin, it pops out in wetland-like features, and it's being head scratched about right now
Oh, okay.
at Department of State Lands. So a couple small spots probably. right up against the fence.
So the home builder will have to take that into
Yeah,
consideration.
he's stopped. You know, there's a buyer that's going to buy most of the lots
Yes.
to build. It's not going to be Wygant.
Yeah. But that
And,
buyer's aware.
yeah, he
Okay.
actually brought it to us.
Okay, good. All right.
So
Is that against those existing homes?
yeah,
That was brought up before.
yeah, I know. It was brought up to me, and I said, there's nothing there." But no, not those existing homes. The
The street that comes in.
the private street, the county street,
Hillcrest.
the old Hillcrest.
The
those
one we
homes. They're on
have
septic
the
tanks.
stub to.
Anyway, that was just a little side thing I wanted to tell you guys about.
Okay, it's been made a motion to adjourn.
Yep.
Favor?
Yeah.
8 o'clock.
Before 8.
8 o'clock.